What is happening here? I watched a video on my phone that showed the inside of my house, specifically our bedroom. I have an app that lets me watch live footage from our security cameras at home. In the video, I saw my husband with another woman. They were too close to each other to just be friends. Then I heard them talking. Are you sure she doesn't suspect anything? Yeah, I've been following your instructions perfectly. She has no idea. She totally believes me. They laughed and playfully jumped onto the bed. I was shocked because the woman with my husband was my own sister. My name is Karen McDougal. I am 53 years old. My husband James is almost 56, and we have been married for 21 years. We don't have children, and it has always been just us two. We had a comfortable life until about 12 years ago when James was diagnosed with early onset dementia. His condition worsened over time. He began forgetting important meetings, how to do his job, and where he placed things. He even had trouble dressing himself and would often bump into things. Once, he left a kettle on the stove, nearly causing a fire. So James and I sought advice from my sister, Nicole, who runs a care home. She recommended a hospital where James was diagnosed. He had to retire, and now a caregiver from Nicole's facility visits our home twice a week. These days, I am the main earner in our family, working hard every day. One day when Miss Tom, our regular caregiver, visited, Nicole came with her. She said, "How's James doing? He's your husband, and I'm worried too." Since we started using Nicole's facility, she often stops by to check on us. I left for work knowing James was in good hands. My sister Nicole has looked after him like a brother ever since we got married. She always wanted a big brother when we were kids. She was very upset when James was diagnosed with dementia. Although she's busy, she often checks on us, which I really appreciate. Thanks to Nicole and Ms. Tom, I can work peacefully knowing James is safe at home. Without my job, we'd struggle financially, so I'm very grateful to them. However, they can't help on weekends, so I take care of James alone then. I work during the week and care for James on weekends, leaving me no time for myself. I hadn't realized how tired I was, but a nurse at the hospital, who I've known for nearly 12 years, noticed. "Mrs. McDougal, it's tough caring for your husband. You need some time to rest," she told me. I know I can ask Nicole and Ms. Tom for emergency help, but I don't want to trouble them more. By the way, there's a new nurse here from a specialized dementia hospital in Kansas City. She might help you. Look, there she is. I looked where the nurse was pointing, and to my surprise, it was Judy, my best friend from college. We hugged and caught up happily. Judy, who played softball in college and still looked sharp with her neat, short haircut, exclaimed, "Karen, you haven't changed at all." "Neither have you, Judy. I'm so glad to see you," I replied. Judy had waited for her children to grow up, divorced, and moved back to her hometown. "Let me know when you're free for coffee," she suggested. Just then, James came out in his wheelchair after his tests. "This is my husband, James," I introduced him. "It feels like it's been forever since our wedding." "Yes, it has been a long time," I replied to Judy, my friend from college. As she bent down to look James in the eyes, he was sitting in his wheelchair. Judy paused, looking a bit unsure. "Oh, sorry, James. We met at your wedding, right?" she asked. James smiled at her and replied, "Is that so? I'm looking forward to your future care. Thank you in advance." Judy seemed to have a thoughtful look as she observed James. Noticing my confused expression, she stood up smiling. "I've taken care of many patients like your husband, so I might be able to offer some advice. I think I can help, so feel free to ask." "Yeah, I'll definitely rely on you. Thanks, Judy," I said. We said goodbye to each other after that. Over the next few months, I ran into Judy a few times, like when I went to pick up James's medicine or when his health got worse. Each time, Judy looked at me with concern, but I pretended not to notice and just shrugged it off. A few months after reuniting with Judy, James and I went to the hospital together. As James was called in for his checkup, I heard someone call, Karen. It was Judy, looking serious. Is something wrong? I asked. Your husband James just went in for his examination. Do you have a moment? Judy asked. Sure, I guess, I replied. Judy led me to a counseling room. Karen, how is it taking care of James? Are you managing? Okay, she inquired. Thanks for asking, I said. I shared with Judy about James's recent health and how the constant caregiving was wearing me down. Judy listened intently, seeming concerned about my well-being. But then she started to say something surprising. Actually, Karen, what she said next was hard to believe. About a week before we met again, Judy told me she was shopping in town when she saw Nickel with a man she recognized. Nickel introduced him as her boyfriend. Later, at the hospital, I realized the man was James, my husband. It was all very confusing. Judy, that explains the strange look you had when we met, I said. Judy had seen Nickel and James together in town just a week before our meeting. However, James didn't seem to notice Judy. Back then, I looked different. I had long hair and wore glasses, which might be why he didn't recognize me. Judy also mentioned something else that bothered her. She felt James's behavior at the hospital didn't seem right for someone with dementia. He acted just like someone she had seen at her old job who was faking dementia. The man she saw in town walked confidently and responded clearly, looking perfectly healthy. Could you have mistaken someone else for him? I asked. I don't think so, Judy replied. You know how James has those distinctive moles under his right eye? The man with Nickel had them too. It's quite a unique feature. Judy realized she might have spoken inappropriately about my husband and apologized. But it was true, James does have those moles, and it's rare for someone else to have the same ones in the same place. Could James have been pretending to have dementia for 12 years and be having an affair with Nickel? The story was hard to believe, but Judy isn't known to lie. I don't think this hospital is very good, Judy admitted. The doctors aren't great, and I've heard some bad rumors. It seems odd that they have so many patients. I think you should get James properly checked to see if he really has dementia, she suggested seriously. After hearing what Judy said, I went to a large store and bought a home security camera. I placed it in hidden spots in the living room and bedroom to secretly record what was happening while I was at work. I set it up to connect to my smartphone and checked it during my breaks. Surprisingly, James acted differently than he did around me. He wasn't lost or confused about where things were. He seemed to be living normally. Also, when Miss Tom, the caregiver I had hired for James, came over, there was no sign of her actually taking care of him. Furthermore, I discovered that Nickel had been visiting my house frequently while I was away. The camera also captured their conversations clearly. You're not getting caught pretending to have dementia, right, James? Yeah, because I'm doing just as Nickel suggests, pretending not to know the date or where things are working perfectly, pretending not to write or go outside, and thinking it's day when it's actually night would be good too. Karen is a trusting person, so I don't think she'll suspect anything. Is Miss Tom okay? Won't she spill the beans? Ah, she's fine. She's a single mom with a kid, so she needs the money. I've been giving her a bit more salary, and she's been keeping quiet. After laughing together, they would flirt and head to the bedroom. I was speechless when I saw the footage. I couldn't believe my sister and husband were plotting behind my back, but the evidence was clearly recorded on the camera. Confronted with the undeniable truth, I felt lost. A few days later, I felt the need to talk to Miss Tom, who had been taking care of James. When I contacted her, she said she would be available the following Saturday. I went to her apartment and showed her the footage. She looked defeated, cried, and apologized to me. What you see in this footage is the truth. I've been deceiving you all this time, and I'm truly sorry. I don't have a license, and I was struggling to find another job. I had no choice but to follow what Nickel said because she offered me a good deal, she confessed. She explained that she was a single mother needing money, but she felt guilty for helping deceive me. Her guilt helped me get her statement. She also gave me copies of receipts, daily reports, and her diary from that time. No matter how much I needed the money, what I did was wrong. I am really, really sorry, she kept saying. Besides the evidence and testimony from Ms. Tom, I gathered more proof by talking to a few people involved and then spoke with my lawyer. I decided it was time to confront James and Nicole. I pretended to go to work like usual, waited near my house, and went back when Nicole arrived and they were likely together. I caught them off guard and they panicked. I know everything now, James, I said coldly. He quickly started confessing. It wasn't my idea. Nicole seduced me. She suggested we pretend I had dementia so you would support us. We could meet while you were at work. Even Miss Tom was hired by Nicole as an alibi. Nicole got angry and shouted James was fully involved in the plan, and now he's trying to escape blame. That's cowardly. Shut up. You were the one pushing this idea. As they argued, my heart turned cold watching them blame each other. I had reached my limit with the antics of Nicole and James. Exasperated, I commanded, "That's enough. Both of you, get out." I didn't just speak. I acted, tossing them out of the living room window along with their clothes and Nicole's purse, which were scattered all over the floor. Then I slammed the window shut. They continued to bang on the glass, pleading for a chance to explain, but I was done listening. I drew the curtains to shut them out completely. Their persistent banging prompted me to send a stern message via WhatsApp. Be quiet, or I'll call the police. Leave now. That silenced them. Over the next few days, they repeatedly came to my house and bombarded me with messages on WhatsApp, which was incredibly irritating. To escape the constant reminders of their betrayal, I decided to sell the house. Fortunately, I had the foresight to transfer the property into my name after James was diagnosed with dementia. Given his condition and retirement, he was no longer in a position to manage our finances, including the mortgage. This precaution proved wise, as I was able to sell the house for a good price and purchase an apartment with the funds I had discreetly saved over the years. Although I hadn't anticipated such a drastic turn of events, I was relieved that my past decisions had prepared me well. Consequently, I filed for divorce from James and pursued a division of our assets. It didn't matter whether he was financially capable of settling claims or not. This action was more about sending a clear message that what they had done to me was unforgivable and unforgettable. Post-divorce, I learned through the grapevine that James had remarried and was now living with Nicole in what used to be her house. However, their situation seemed far from ideal. It appeared that the initial thrill of their affair had worn off after marriage. Living together in the harsh light of day, they had to face the reality of their relationship, accept each other's flaws, and occasionally turn a blind eye to their irritations. I imagine this proved challenging for them, considering they had stepped into marriage in the aftermath of deceit. If they ever considered separation, it would not be straightforward. With both of their parents gone, and the house where James and I had lived already sold, James had no old home to return to. They had no other family to fall back on, leaving them to navigate their complex relationship alone. As for me, I couldn't care less about their difficulties. They had made their bed, and now they had to lie in it. After Miss Tom came forward with her revelations, the repercussions were swift and severe. Nicole's care facility had its license revoked and was subsequently shut down. It turned out that the facility was financially unstable. It hadn't been making enough profit to cover the loans taken out from the bank at its inception. Now, Nicole is burdened with a significant amount of debt. This seems like a fitting consequence for a sister who betrayed her own family by stealing her sister's husband. The doctor who issued the fake diagnosis for James also faced serious consequences following the exposure of his malpractice. His reputation was tarnished, and his professional misconduct led to a domino effect within his clinic. His staff, disillusioned and disappointed by their association with unethical practices, resigned one after another. Judy was among those who left, no longer able to support the deceitful operations. With his team dissolving, it became impossible for him to maintain his clinic, leading to its inevitable closure. This doctor had been involved in corrupt activities, accepting bribes from disreputable sources to produce false medical reports. He had issued such a report for James, falsely diagnosing him with dementia. In exchange for these reports, he received patient referrals from these unethical collaborators. This explained the influx of patients at his clinic despite his lack of skill and poor reputation. The revelation of these deceitful practices was a shocking discovery for me. It highlighted just how egregious some medical professionals could be, exploiting their authority and the trust placed in them for personal gain. However, this situation also forced me to confront a painful truth about myself. I had been overly trusting, taking my sister's and the doctor's word at face value without sufficient scrutiny. Judy often pointed out that my kindness and trust in others were excessive, and this ordeal confirmed her observations. This entire experience has been a sobering reminder of the importance of vigilance and the potential consequences of naivety. It has prompted me to reevaluate how I trust and the extent to which I should verify information, especially when it concerns the well-being of my loved ones. As painful as these lessons have been, they have instilled a more cautious approach to trusting others in my future interactions. I used to trust people easily, but recent events have taught me the importance of questioning what I'm told and relying more on my own judgment. It's a difficult shift, considering my natural inclination to see the best in others, but it's become clear that being too trusting can lead to serious consequences. While I navigate these changes in how I approach relationships and information, it's reassuring to see familiar faces settling into new beginnings. Judy, a friend whose judgment and integrity I've always respected, has successfully transitioned to a new job at a large general hospital in a nearby town. Her extensive experience, especially her previous role in a prestigious Kansas City hospital, was highly valued, leading to quick acceptance and trust from her new colleagues. She's thriving in an environment that appreciates her skills and dedication, which brings me a great deal of joy knowing that she's finding fulfillment in her work. In a lovely turn of events, on Judy's recommendation, Ms. Tom, who was entangled in the recent turmoil but showed remorse for her actions, has found a position at the same hospital, working in the cafeteria. It's a fresh start for her, an opportunity to rebuild her life in a less pressured role, away from the complexities of direct patient care. This chance at a new beginning in a supportive environment might just be what she needs to move forward. One of the brighter moments during these times has been the arrival of a new companion, a male miniature Dachshund puppy whom I brought home about a month ago. His joyful demeanor and playful antics are a constant source of comfort and delight after long, tiring days. Judy's affection for him is evident. Her eyes sparkle with joy every time she sees him frolicking with his favorite ball. While she insists that her frequent visits are purely to indulge in his cuteness, I know there's more to it. Judy is considerate and caring, often using her love for the puppy as an excuse to check on me, ensuring I'm not just coping but thriving despite the challenges I've faced. These visits from Judy have become a cherished part of my routine. They remind me that life can still hold simple joys and genuine connections, even after profound loss. The laughter we share, the quiet moments spent in companionable silence, and the comfort of having someone who understands and supports me unconditionally are invaluable. It has led me to reflect on the unexpected paths life takes us on, and how sometimes the outcome isn't as bleak as it initially seems. Losing my husband in the way I did was devastating, and the betrayal cut deep. However, finding solace in my friendship with Judy and the unconditional love of my new puppy has given me a renewed sense of purpose and happiness. It's in these small, everyday moments with them that I find strength and recovery. As I adjust to this new phase of life, The idea of living a single life, enjoying the company of my dear friend, and my delightful puppy doesn't just seem bearable, it feels genuinely fulfilling. Perhaps this is what contentment looks like for me now. Simpler, quieter, but no less rich in love and companionship.